up and moving around than you did, say, an hour ago. So at any given moment, we have the opportunity to change the way we feel. Does everybody agree? Find what that is for you and use it to change your state when you need to in order to stay productive. So I've been in the business for about 17 years. I started when I was 12. Just kidding. How many of you are franchise owners? Okay, very good. How many of you have a team? Okay. How many of you are individual agents or have partners? Wow, so we have the perfect mix here. If you're recruiting, if you're a business owner, or if you're a team owner, then I want to talk a little bit about my experience when I got into the business. I interviewed with every company there was. Now, I was like 29 years old. I went to one place that was just kind of up and coming in Tucson. The gentleman, he was dressed very hip and, kind of attracting that younger crowd, if you will. And he stood the entire time. The entire time. And I'm like, this is awkward. I didn't understand then what I know now about sales. So I understand he was posturing, right? Went to another company. It felt like a sterile surgeon's office. He took me out and walked me around and he said, you can be in this area, but don't go over here. This is where the seasoned agents are. I'm like, really? Okay, that's just where I want to go, where I'm going to learn nothing, right? So the next place I went, he took me around, walked me, and introduced me to every single person. Doors were open. And he said, you can talk to any one of these people anytime you need help. They introduced themselves. They said, whenever you need anything, you let me know. Guess where I went? Where I felt safe, right? Where I felt comfortable. So when we're recruiting, that's what we need to think about, is how is the other person feeling, right? We want to make them feel safe and comfortable. Make sense? What if I told you that Patrick, where's Patrick? There he is. That Patrick has $1 million in his trunk. Does anybody know what Patrick drives? What if I told you that if you got a real listing and brought it back to me, signed and ready to go, that I would then give you the $1 million. I would hunt down his car because I don't know what he drives. But I'll tell you, I could find out fast. I am very resourceful. And I would give you that $1 million. Could you do it? Put your hand up if you agree that you could do that by 6 p.m. today. Okay, tell me how. List your own house. Because what happens when you list your own house? Buyer leads. Absolutely. What else? What else would you do? Call your mom. Call your spirit. Call everybody you know. Hey, I got to list your house. I'm going to get $1 million. Right? So those people trust us already. They're going to let us do it. For sale by owners. For sale by low-hanging fruit. Right? They already want to sell their house. How hard is it to go get them to sell it? Not that hard. What else? Expireds. Absolutely. They already know that they need an agent. You just have to tell them why the other agent didn't sell it. It's really that simple, right? What if I told you it's this easy to make $1 million? Here's what happens. Let's assume a $300,000 sales price. Assume I charge 3%, so that's what we're going to assume. That's $9,000 commission, yes? If you got one listing every single day, right? Now you're making $45,000 a week. Are you cool with that? Now, if you do that 52 weeks out of the year, you just made $2.3 million plus, actually. So guess what? You only have to work 2.5 days a week, and you can make over $1 million. How's that? It's that simple, guys. The question is, do you have what it takes? I believe what it takes is guts. Grit trumps talent. You can be talented all day long, but if you're not driven and you don't put effort in, it doesn't matter, right? Unstoppable. Who are the icons? They're the Michael Jordans, right? Huge. These people are unstoppable. It's not optional. They're going to make it happen. It's a trajectory. How many of you know your numbers right now? You have a plan? Everybody have a plan? I'm not seeing a lot of hands. That's freaking me out. And are we all meeting our goals? I know I heard last night a few of you have exceeded them and are now taking trips and all kinds of fun stuff. So we have to know our trajectory. We have to stay on top of that. And then superpower. Who knows their own superpower? What is it? You know what? I love that you just said that, relationship building, because we are in a relationship business that happens to sell real estate, right? Do you all agree with that? Have any of you ever heard of the 6 Basic Human Needs by Tony Robbins? Yes. Yeah. Because these play a huge part in what we do, okay? Not only at our own level, but if we're recruiting and we're working with team members and agents, we need to know this stuff. We need to know what's important to them. And think about which two are most important to you. So circle the two that you feel match you the best. Now, the person that's closest to you, think about what theirs is and circle that. Or underline it if you want it to be different. If you don't like them, you can just put X's through it. So when we know why people do what they do, what can we do with that? Right, it's leverage. Absolutely, it's leverage. We know what makes them tick. We know what makes us tick. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about grit. So as these pop up, shout them out. Determination, backbone, bravery, and that makes the big difference. Thank you for saying that. Yay! She doesn't know I'm going to do this. She's going to be really mad at me right now. Nicole, come here for just a second. So she might, I'm probably not going to ride home with her. Let's do it that way. I want to show you what grit looks like. She came into my world as pretty much a brand new agent. She was in a world that she didn't have a lot of opportunity. And she came into our world, and her very first year, her net, $72,000 for her first year. Not a bad program, right? Okay. Second year, over 6 figures. Now, let me just tell you this part. She has 4 kids that she raises by herself. Okay? They all play sports. She has to get them all to school every day, and she has no help. I just wanted to show you this is grit. So we're going to talk about being interested or committed. Are you interested or are you committed? You will try and see what happens. And you're sometimes going, what's going on? And I'm not seeing the results, right? What's committed look like? Absolutely. So you're going to hunt down the resources, right? I started with 3 open house signs. And a gentleman, he said, go write 3 fake contracts. He gave me some scenarios, and I did that. And what he did by doing that was he gave me hope that I could learn. And then my first contract, now I'm going to age myself a little bit, but was written with carbon copy paper. There happened to be a gentleman in the office, and I went up and I handed him my contract. Nobody else was there, Sunday afternoon. That's back when we had fax machines. And he said, that's the best contract I've ever seen. And you know what that gave me? Confidence. So now I have hope and I have confidence. My second year in the industry, I made top 10 in our company, which at the time was one of the largest companies. And it was just because somebody gave me hope and confidence. And I was committed, right? I was not going to fail. That was not an option. What's interested look like? So what's the key word there? It's convenient, right? When it's convenient. So what it looks like when you're committed is you are definitely going to do it. Failure is not an option. You are absolutely unstoppable. Right? Interested or committed? Committed. So we want to talk about trajectory, right? Staying on track. This is huge. The detailed plan to get there. Track your progress. You got to know where you're going, right? And then what's going to happen when you track your progress if you haven't met your goal? You're going to make some changes, right? Right. Yes, definitely. And what you've got to do with those changes is not just make them, you've got to write them down. You've got to delegate it to the right person, and you've got to make it happen. It's got to be on your calendar. It has to have a set date. Do you agree? All right, superpower. We all have a different superpower. Nicole is an amazing trainer. Amazing. Can't even tell you. Matt, when it comes to business operations, this guy can just spit stuff out and just, put it across the board and think about it in a linear fashion. It's amazing. Stephen, I have 1,000 things a day I think of. Let's do this, let's do that. And he goes, no. Yes, that's a good one. And then he puts it into action immediately. We all have a superpower. So know what your superpower is and know what everybody else's are around you and tell them. And why do we want to tell them? Right, it makes people feel good. It makes people feel good to know what they're good at. And then what do they do? More of it. And they do it even better. We launched the Gateway Partners in 2017, and in our first year with 5 agents, we were in the top 1% of 5,000 plus agents in Tucson. That was with 5 agents. Now we're up to 30 agents. We have 4 teams collectively. We're 6, right? As of the other day. So I'm proud of that, and I know that the people that I'm surrounded by are the reason for it. I know that we've just created this group and this culture, and they all have superpowers. Our retention rate is 99%. Know your superpower, know theirs, hire around yourself, and compliment them. Deal? Okay, so let's change the face of the real estate industry. Are you ready?
Yes.
Do we have to dance again? Okay, good. Your first question is to yourself. What do you want to create? How many of you have really thought through what you want the end result to look like? Not just a plan, but a vision. Does anybody know the end game, what that vision is going to look like? Like I walked into my office and what? And you can imagine yourself walking in the doors and being able to hand those people what they need, and you have that warm, fuzzy feeling. That's what makes you engage with your future, right? So when you know that vision, you can see it, the chances of you getting it are much, much higher. So how many of you have read Rocket Fuel? It's really important to understand the details, the dynamics, and how to work together. So I'm going to get into it a little bit. Visionary is really somebody that has a gazillion ideas. Every day they see a great big vision. Or you may be an integrator. Now, an integrator is like 6% of the population. So what happens with an integrator is they immediately execute the visionary's plans. So when you have somebody like my business partner and then he puts it into action and executes it, huge. If you're a visionary, find an integrator. It will change your life, I promise. So visionary plus integrator equals extreme success. All right, so 5 simple truths about building a company or team. All right, culture. We're going to stick here for just a couple of slides because I believe this is the most important thing there is. Do you agree?
Yes.
We need to have a group of people that believe what we believe. But they need to be aligned with our general belief system. When we interview, and all of our team leaders do this, we go through the disc and then we have a 3-page questionnaire. The first page is designed to exhaust somebody. You will be emotionally exhausted when I'm done with you. You've told me about your whole life, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, your worst childhood memory, your best child, you're done. You are not adapting any longer. You can try to have a happy face, but you're done. Right? Second page, I'm getting to meet. Now I know who you really are. And that's how I know if they're really aligned with my culture or not. So people first, people before profit. Internalize that for a second. Because what happens is when you have the right people on the bus, the profit comes automatically. Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. If you lead with ego, you need to stop leading. That's not where we lead from, right? We are servants once we become leaders. Pride is the burden of a foolish person. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I really could spend all day on this slide, but I'm not going to. DISC is so important. How many of you use it? I recommend you do that. Use that to know who you are. You use that to know who they are. That's how you're going to find your integrator as well. Anybody read this book, 5 Love Languages?
Yes.
If you have a company or a team, you've got to know what their reward system is. So our office manager is the rewards person. She knows when everybody's birthday is, what accomplishments they have, and her job is to make sure that I know, or that the team leaders know, so they can then deliver that. Does that make sense? So, the who, you need to know who to surround yourself with at all times. When and where. So when do you start hiring? I get this question all the time. When do we start hiring? And where do we find the people to hire? Because once we know our strengths, then we can build around ourselves. Doesn't matter what position you're in, believe it or not. I don't sell at all. So it's a choice. So you don't have to be the rainmaker, you can teach somebody how to be, right? So why and how? Why we're hiring these people, how to handle them, who's training them, what are we doing with them, what's the process, right? All right, I'm going to fly through this, so I just have a couple minutes left. So when we're planning, we're in the planning phase, we have the initial setup. We need to know a lot of information on that initial setup. That's a company team no matter what, right? Training, who's doing it, how's it going to get done, is it online, is it done through a certain company, are you doing it yourself, and who's responsible for it? Lead generation. What's your lead lever, right? How are you going to create leads? Are you going to even offer leads? That's an option. Accountability, another really big one, right? We have to know who's going to be accountable for what and how we're going to hold people accountable and the systems that we're going to use to do so. Make sense? Sorry, I have to talk fast in a couple minutes. We have to have a plan in place. The future of your business is huge, right? So it's written, it's defined, it's detailed. It has timelines, right? We've all heard of this, yes? We need a unique value proposition. Why? Why are you different? Processes. So the who, what, when, where, why, and how. When you're doing who, what, when, where, why, and how, that should be written on everything you do So, typically you have one side. You have the visionary or the CEO, team leader, whatever that looks like, right? You gotta stay in your lane in order to make profit. And agents, recruiting, retaining, this is some of their responsibilities usually. Coaching, training, production. Then we have on the other side, usually a business partner, somebody we hire maybe, integrator, CFO, operations manager. Systems are usually staff, systems, tools, process, tracking, updating, reporting, right? All these things. All of these things have to happen. If there's two of you doing this, stay in your lane. All right. Production, very, very important. Inspect what you expect all the time, right? So everything that we just talked about leads to production. So we have goals, and then we have the reality, and then we have the options or the opportunity, and then we have the way forward, or I like to say, write it down. If you're not hitting your goal and you're here, this is your reality, what are you going to do differently? What are your options? If you're killing it and you're doing great, what are the opportunities you learn from it? And then you're going to write that down. What's your way forward from there? We're going to move our money here because it's working better. We're going to change this because it's not working. How will you measure it? Do you have a system to measure these things? Last one is profit. You have to know what your expectations are financially, right? You've got to have financial statements at all times. That is what is going to tell you what the pulse of your business is and is going to be. It's huge. Whether you're an individual agent, you're on a team, you own a team, or you own a franchise, or you own the darn company, you run a business, right? You've got to know what your money is doing all the time, where it's going, where it's coming from. So, culture plus plan plus process plus production equals what?
Profit.
Profit. Perfect. Stand up. We have one more thing, and then I'm going to let you go. But we're going to end this with some fun. Ready? I want you to repeat after me. Deal? Yes. I am unstoppable.
I am unstoppable.
Okay, we're going to put your hands up this time. All right. What does this stance mean? Yeah, what do people do? Whenever they go through a finish line, whenever something great happens, automatic, this happens. So you can start here, and then as we go, I'm unstoppable, we're going to do this. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I am unstoppable! Woo!